The barren land of Utah's Uinta Basin hides more than just ancient secrets. It conceals a playground of physics that humanity barely understands. For decades, scientists, skeptics, and thrill-seekers have come here to decode the eerie energies swirling around Skinwalker Ranch. But this season, something unprecedented happened. A government-sponsored UFO experiment, intended to bridge communication with an unidentified aerial phenomenon, went disastrously off course. The outcome? Mysterious energy waves, vanishing crew members, and a night that left the entire research team fearing for their sanity, and possibly their lives. The ambitious experiment began under the silent desert moon. The ranch's scientific team, alongside an elite group from the UnXplained zone, set out to replicate the strange electromagnetic anomalies recorded in prior seasons. Their goal was clear: trigger a controlled response from what they believed was an intelligent energy field hovering above the property. The team erected a massive parabolic antenna near the western mesa, nicknamed the Eye. Wires ran across the landscape, connected to modified radio frequency generators capable of emitting ultra-low frequencies, ULS. These frequencies were similar to those captured during previous UFO sightings above the ranch. Eric, the lead physicist, theorized that the signals could ping the mysterious craft, like calling out to an unseen presence. They dubbed the project Operation Skypulse. At exactly 2:33 a.m., the generators powered on. A deep hum rolled through the ground, and the desert began to vibrate. Birds erupted from the trees, animals ran for cover, and the night itself seemed to breathe. What started as a controlled scientific test quickly spiraled into a cosmic nightmare. The signal that shouldn't exist within minutes of activation, the control monitors began picking up erratic bursts of light. 1, 2, then 7 pulses, each forming a symmetrical sequence in the sky. The readings on the spectrum analyzer became impossible to interpret. "Whatever this is," Eric muttered, "it's responding." The light pulses weren't random. They encoded a mathematical pattern, Fibonacci intervals, a structure found in nature and, disturbingly, in previous UFO data from the ranch. Dwayne Ollinger, the ranch owner, stood frozen as the lights grew brighter, spreading across the horizon like neural pathways firing in the atmosphere. Then came a shockwave. Every instrument on site went dead simultaneously. The generators melted from inside out. Moments later, the electromagnetic field around the antenna spiked so violently that compasses reversed polarity. Drones fell out of the sky, and one of the crew's communication vehicles stopped functioning altogether. They had summoned something. A portal over the mesa at 2:51 a.m., thermal drones, those still operational, captured something utterly incomprehensible. Hovering above the mesa was a circular distortion, like heat waves bending the air into a shimmering whirlpool. Eric, analyzing live feeds, noticed temperature drops of nearly 40 degrees within seconds around the vortex. That wasn't just weather fluctuation, it was an energy sinkhole. The team watched as the circular distortion expanded, revealing a faint metallic reflection inside, like the curvature of an object slowly rotating in another dimension. The static charge across the ranch made everyone's hair stand up. Suddenly, every digital recording device began to malfunction, and then, inexplicably, the feeds went blank. For 3 minutes, there was only silence. When systems rebooted, the vortex was gone, but something had changed. The instruments still registered radiation levels higher than ever recorded at Skinwalker Ranch. The vanishing crew member when roll call was taken after the chaos. Everyone was accounted for, except honor technician Ryan McLeod had been operating the magnetometer array near the southern gate. His radio went dead moments before the blackout. They found his equipment intact, but he was nowhere to be seen. The last recorded footage from his body cam showed Ryan walking toward a glowing mist forming at ground level near the experiment site. The video abruptly ends with a blinding flash. Despite exhaustive searches using thermal imaging, dogs, and even aerial scans, Ryan was never found. His watch and tools, however, were discovered 2 days later, placed neatly on a boulder half a mile away, where no tracks led in or out. Duane said nothing publicly, but insiders whispered that the ranch had taken another person. The frequency anomaly. The days following, Eric and his team studied the recorded data from Operation Skypulse. The results defied comprehension. The emitted frequency minus 7.83 Hz, also known as the Schumann resonance, had somehow duplicated itself at higher harmonics. But these harmonics weren't naturally generated. They showed modulated intelligence. What made the data even stranger was that an identical frequency had been recorded during a military test decades ago in Nevada, one that was classified after 3 researchers suffered severe radiation burns. Could the same presence have been behind both incidents? The UnXplained zone's experts proposed a chilling hypothesis. Skinwalker Ranch sits atop a natural gateway, an interdimensional node where energy frequencies fold space-time. If the experiment had successfully interacted with it, the response might have destabilized the environment temporarily, explaining Ryan's disappearance and the electromagnetic havoc. But Eric believed otherwise. He thought something on the other side had used their experiment as a beacon, a doorway invitation. Night of the inversion 3 nights later, the ranch erupted again. Cameras recorded erratic temperature inversions, pockets of freezing cold in midair. Animals went berserk. The generators turned on by themselves. At precisely 3:06 a.m., a light formed over the mesa once more, this time more defined and structured. Witnesses described it as a rotating hexagon of pulsating energy, with smaller orbs orbiting around it like satellites. Crew was terrified. Duane screamed at them to cut power, but everything was already disconnected. Whatever was happening was not human-controlled. Suddenly, a sound, low, guttural, almost mechanical, vibrated across the valley. The air shimmered, and several team members reported hearing disembodied whispers inside their helmets. Then came the smell of ozone. The hexagonal light flared white, then burst apart. Every metallic surface on site became magnetized for nearly 10 minutes afterward. Aftermath and silence be dawn, the entire team was in disarray. Several members reported migraines, nosebleeds, and confusion. Their electronic devices were fried. Medical scans later showed that the radiation exposure in their tissues was equivalent to standing a few feet from a particle accelerator for 20 seconds. The footage from all high-definition cameras that night was corrupted beyond recovery, as if a magnetic storm had erased their contents. Only low-frequency analog recordings survived, though the images were grainy and distorted. Ryan McLeod's absence cast a heavy shadow. Duane called off all further experiments indefinitely. The UnXplained zone released only partial details to the public, describing it as an unexpected atmospheric event. But whistleblowers claimed that a Black Ops team arrived at the ranch days later, confiscating samples of melted metal and strange crystalline dust found at the site. Scientific theories versus ancient legends experts have long argued that Skinwalker Ranch is not simply a paranormal hotspot, but a collision point of science and myth. Indigenous stories warn of shapeshifters and dimensional tricksters guarding forbidden knowledge buried beneath the mesa. Some physicists now suggest that those legends might symbolize interactions with unknown energy systems, Perhaps plasma-based life forms or interdimensional travelers responding to electromagnetic stimuli. The UFO experiment may have crossed that invisible boundary, provoking a reaction from an entity or intelligence operating outside human comprehension. Could it be that the UFOs of Skinwalker Ranch are not visitors from outer space at all, but echoes of something native to our planet, manifesting when conditions align perfectly? Whatever the truth, the experiment blurred that line between curiosity and catastrophe. The return signal weeks later, when all seemed calm again, Eric received a private message from one of his old monitoring stations, one not connected to the ranch's network. The system had detected a pulse identical to the sky pulsar frequency. But this time it came from 37 miles away, deep within the desert, near an abandoned mine. The sequence contained a final chilling addition: 3 repeating tones, identical to Rand McLeod's biometric pattern from his radio badge. The experiment had ended, but something was still calling back. Conclusion: the unfinished chapter to this day. No one truly understands what went wrong, or what was truly achieved. Operation Skypulse was meant to uncover truth. Instead, it exposed the terrifying fragility of reality itself. The ranch has since been sealed under tighter security, and the UnXplained zone ceased all further experimentation. Yet, late-night satellite imaging still picks up brief flashes of structured light above the mesa. Maybe the UFOs aren't leaving, maybe they were always here, and after the experiment that went wrong, they finally know we're listening.